if you are not over the age of 18, maybe skip these episodes. What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to Post Finale. I'm your host, Ankit Madhira. I'm an actor and a musician who has not seen a lot of films. So to make my friends happy and potentially provide a new perspective on some popular films, I am on a quest to change that. Never on this quest alone, however. This week, I am joined by actor and my friend, Jack McCann. Jack, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. I just broke up for the school holidays in England, so I'm very happy about that.
Woo! See, you did that. I accidentally wore a shirt that's the same color as my background, so I kind of look like a floating head. It's all good.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all good.
It's all good. So, yes, we are back and we are talking about Boogie Nights. We are going to pick up where we left off our conversation last week at a party. Now, Jack, I didn't ask you this last week, but you are an actor. So, if you could play any character in this film, who would you want to play?
Probably Roller Girl, because she's just glamorous and just, I don't know. Why does she always wear roller skates? It's just so like mysterious, you know. Where did that come from? So yeah, she's probably her. And I feel like stars in the 70s, like the women, were like always really glamorous, whereas the men are kind of gross. So
fair,
probably
very fair.
One of them.
Yeah. Just skate around, be pretty.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know. I feel like that's Roller Girl's job in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
She just skates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Wonderful. So, where we left off, we're at a party and we're having some fun. And in walks Philip Seymour Hoffman. I am very okay with this. This is now 2 films back to back that I've done with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Very okay with this.
Okay. What was the other one?
Twister.
Okay.
So the film right before this was Twister, and he's in that as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. But he notices Eddie lounging by the pool, and he pulls off his sunglasses like he's super excited. And he's like, "Ooh, let's go." We learn his name is Scotty J. He's a friend. He works on some of the films, and he seems to offer Jack like whatever. And I was like, "Are you an actor in the industry as well?" No, he is not. For context, he works behind the scenes. But Jack calls Eddie over and we meet the Colonel. Well, Eddie meets the Colonel. And we have a surprisingly long shot of a very firm handshake. Is the handshake really important?
Don't know, maybe it's just... I feel like it's that thing in movies where it signifies a deal, doesn't it? Where they're like doing a handshake thing.
Sure, but like it was an awkward 7 seconds.
Yeah. But it's like another one of those film tropes, isn't it? It's like there's that very specific thing as well, like where they're doing like a business deal and then there's like a kind of montage of the business like succeeding, or like the cash register like popping in and out. Like it's kind of like a film trope of like zooming in on the handshake to show it's like I don't know, a kind of key part. So
fair enough. Yeah. I don't know. It just felt oddly long. Like I didn't mind the zoom in. It just felt like we sat there for a little too long.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe this will come back. I don't know. It probably won't, and I'm reading way too far into this. So the Colonel says that he can't give any advice on the film itself. That's Jack's department. But the one advice I can give you is think about your name. A name that makes you happy. A little pizzazz. So I'm like, all right, Eddie's going to change his name soon, and we are no longer calling him Eddie.
Yeah.
So the Colonel, we learn, puts up all the money for all the films, and it's an important part of the process. Tends to be funding is useful. As we know.
Well, yeah, true.
So, yeah, the Colonel is excited to see Eddie in action, and he has heard from Jack that he has a big and Eddie's just a little flabbergasted by this, and the Colonel's just like, can I see it? And Eddie's like, sure. So he drops his trunks, and then the Colonel's like, okay, thank you. And then Eddie's like, all right. And then just heads out. Fantastic creepy smile from the Colonel.
Oh.
It's just a very odd interaction.
Yeah. And there's always the kind of token, like, creepy old guy in those kind of movies. So that's him, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Oh, I feel like we have multiple token creepy old
Well,
guys.
yeah, I suppose it's the industry, isn't it? So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I wouldn't say that Jack is not creepy old guy too.
Mm, mm.
He might be the filmmaker, but he's like, still watch two 17-year-olds sleep together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting.
Yeah, like I just choices were made,
Well,
choices that
yeah.
should not be made.
True.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't do that.
True. True.
Yeah. But this is the world of cinema
Mm.
and the 70s. Times were different. So it's now night and we're still at the party, but like it's died down a lot. And, we have a shot from the bottom of the pool, which is a really cool shot. It's just like a transitional shot, but it's just a really nice, like, underwater shot. I just thought it was fun. Eddie and Reed are chilling in a hot tub, and Reed decides to recite a poem that he wrote. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I will recite it for you. Here we go. I love you. You love me. Going down the sugar tree. We'll go down the sugar tree and see lots of bees. Playing, playing. But the bees won't sting because you love me. Eddie says that it is fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, I've never been one of those people who truly understands poetry.
It reads like a stoner, right? That's the sort of thing you feel like a stoner would do.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes stoners write better poems than this.
Well, there you go. He wanted to share his craft.
Look, and I'm all for that. And I'm not saying that it might not be a beautiful poem. It might
Yeah.
be a beautiful poem.
Yeah.
I just don't really get poetry that often.
No, fair.
I don't know. Are you a poetry person? Do you read poetry books?
I had to study it at like high school, like everybody does, but not for pleasure anymore. So
Okay. Yeah. I studied it, didn't understand it then. Don't read them now.
yeah,
I occasionally like see a poem and like I'll read a poem, but like I don't normally understand what is going on in the poem.
I
I'm
don't mind a
usually just
haiku
confused.
sometimes.
Yeah, yep, those are fun. We had a fun Avatar episode where Sokka just does haikus in
Oh,
Tales of Ba Sing Se in
okay.
season 2. Not sure if you've seen that show.
No, I haven't actually. Maybe I'll have to be educated on that one.
It's okay. I'll help you there while you help me here. It's fine. Avatar: The Last Airbender, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen it, go watch the cartoon. I wouldn't recommend the live
I have
actions.
heard about the movie. I have heard about the movie.
So there's the movie, but then there's also now the Netflix live action, which we did episodes for on Flip the Scripts. So if anyone's interested, go check out Flip the Scripts. We talk about the live action over there. Choices were made.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. They weren't necessarily the right choices in humble opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I really have no say in any of this because I don't make the show.
It's less whitewashed than the movie, though, right? Isn't that why they kind of made it?
The casting was good.
Good.
It was the writing that we had issues with.
Right. But that's
because they also created plot holes.
Right. Okay. I guess the kind of maybe British equivalent of that was, they did the Northern Lights, his Dark Materials movie, and they did one movie and it absolutely bombed. But then they did it as a series on BBC, and it was like everybody loved it. So sometimes maybe stuff works better as a series rather than a movie. So interesting.
It definitely works better as a series, but they botched the live action, in my opinion. But it has a season 2 and a season 3, and this is what we do know: anyone that worked on season 1 is now not in the writers' room anymore and not on the production team. So maybe season 2 and season 3 will be better.
There you go. Here's hoping.
Fingers crossed. Anyway, Boogie Nights. That's what we're actually talking about.
Okay.
Wow, we get sidetracked a lot. So he reads the poem. It's beautiful, according to Eddie. And Reed's like, yeah, I write songs as well. He's still working on that, though. Jack comes out and joins them. And he's like, are you having a good time? Yeah, good. Jack's house is here to have a good time. They turn on the bubbles because jacuzzi. Why not turn on the bubbles? And Eddie asks Jack if he has had any thoughts about his name, like the Colonel said. And Eddie says that he has, but he wants to hear what Eddie thinks. And I really appreciate that, where he's like, look, I have some thoughts, but like, let's hear what you have to say first, and then I'll give you my thought and my opinion. Because I don't want to like crush something that you feel passionate about, because it's going to be your name. You need to feel confident about it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So Eddie wants a name that can cut like glass, razor sharp. When he closes his eyes, he sees it on a big sign and the name in bright blue neon lights with purple outline. Was that the color of the Boogie Nights sign at the beginning of the film? I don't think so. I thought it was like a TV movie screening thing where it was like in black, but I might be wrong.
I know there's like a star. I think on the poster there's like a star that I remember. Google it.
Okay. I might just be thinking differently, but like I don't remember it being on neon lights at the beginning of the film. But maybe it's on neon lights in the poster. I don't know. Maybe I've seen the poster without realizing that I've seen the poster for this film, right? But and I was like, okay, that sounds good. So just a reminder, it is bright blue neon lights with a purple outline. Depending on the shade of blue, I was like, it's all going to look the same.
Yeah.
And then it said, and then he continues, the name is so bright and so sharp that the sign just blows up because the name is so powerful. And then we cut to a sign, and it is big, bright, and blue with like some little yellow stars on it, and it says Dirk Diggler. Where's the purple?
Well, maybe that's just a color theory.
I don't care about colors. There's no purple.
Well, but I guess maybe they're kind of using that trope of like, there's kind of like, if you go to like a strip club, or like there's the kind of thing where it's like live girls like in neon or whatever, they've kind of got that, or the like triple X thing.
I get the trope that they're using. Sure, fantastic. I'm just missing the purple that was described 30 seconds ago.
Maybe somebody forgot. Maybe someone in editing forgot.
How dare they? How dare they? But Jack says, I think heaven has sent you here, Dirk Diggler. Mm-hmm. The angels have blessed us all because of you. Fantastic. That, honestly, great line from Jack to like build up the confidence of a new young actor.
Yeah.
Like, might be a creepy old guy.
Yeah.
He knows how to build the confidence of his actors.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They are on a film set, and they're going to be ready in 20 to 30, apparently, some shadows to deal with. And Jack just goes, there's shadows in life. He makes a good point. I don't know how many, like, film sets you've been on. I know that we've been on a lot of theater productions, but I don't know how many film sets you've been on.
0.
But, like, they always try to get rid of... Okay.
Yeah.
At least in my experience, they want to get rid of the shadows.
Yeah.
But he makes a good point. There are shadows in life.
Wow.
So sometimes maybe you need a little bit of a shadow.
But I think in a way there's that kind of... I suppose with porn, it is kind of almost, obviously it is heightened anyway, so it's kind of more, I don't know, kind of not real, if that makes sense. Like, there is some movies where it could be sort of plausible that it's reality, whereas porn is not, in a way. So it's kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah, no, there is no reality there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So Bill pops in, and he just wants to go over the setup. Fair enough. Like, just go over the points. Just make sure that, like, hey, these are the shots that were taken today. This is the order that we're doing them, right? So, like, fair enough, right? So here we go. Number 1, Amber talking to Becky, asking for some actors to get sent in. 2, enter Reed to audition for Amber. They go at it. Becky watches. Number 3, Becky goes to the bathroom to off. She gets interrupted by Amber. They go at it. 4, and then he just goes, who's Dirk Diggler? And then Jack just goes, a blessing from the angels.
Okay.
Fantastic. Like,
Mm.
just it's just like I like that he sticks with it though. I just find it funny that he sticks with it.
Yeah, yeah. He's
And
found
he's
a
like, and then he explains like, oh, um, it's just like, okay, no, it's Eddie. Um, and then it's like, okay, 4, enter Dirk. He meets Becky. They go at it, and Jack says, no, 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 change that. I want Eddie to be auditioning for Amber.
okay.
Okay. So Jack asks Amber where she's going, and she's like, I'm off to wash up. And he's like, all right, be back shortly.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we see Eddie, and he is in his dressing room. In walks Scotty J, and Scotty tells him that they're ready for him. So Eddie asks for a minute, talks to himself, hypes him up. He's ready to start his acting career. And he heads out, and Scotty's like, you look sexy. You look good. And Scotty really likes his name a lot. He's like, it's really cool. And I was like, Philip Seymour Hoffman, I'm still very confused on your character, but like, you're doing fantastic. If your job is to make Jack slash not Jack, Eddie slightly uncomfortable, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious on what they told him
Yeah.
when he went into the room. They were just like, just make him uncomfortable. I can do this.
Yeah. 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 And also, kind of, I suppose, the like mechanicalness of doing it, like, because there's that thing as well of like kind of actors in Hollywood movies always say that the sex scenes are really awkward because there's like a whole group of people, whereas for porn stars the sex is real, so maybe they just have sort of less inhibitions, I suppose. But the fact that you kind of never think about like there's some boom operator person like at the side, or like, I don't know. And also, what's kind of crazy is someone was saying about like a makeup artist for because obviously you have to do touch-ups quite often. So yeah,
Oh,
I heard that that's a thing.
yeah.
Yeah, so you have to
Okay.
reapply. Yeah, and also as well, some stuff has to be waterproof. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Didn't know about any of that. But like, sure.
because it is like a movie. I suppose it is like a movie. Like, yeah,
It
it's
is a
interesting.
film.
It is a film, an adult film.
It is a film.
Mm.
Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah,
It's an adult film. So they head downstairs, they head onto the set. Jack tells him what to do, and he's like, Action Eddie will be his cue. And then he's like, you go right into the set. And they're both comfortable with it. Eddie says he doesn't need a rehearsal, so Jack's good. We'll shoot the rehearsal. Eddie asks Jack, it's like, hey, can you call me Dirk Diggler from now on? And Jack's like, of course, absolutely. Like, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, no, no. Like, and Jack's like, no, no, no. Like, you're Dirk, right? And again, like, props to Jack, where he's like, okay, like, you've requested me to call you by a different name.
yeah,
I will call you by a different name.
yeah.
Like, good guy Jack in
Mm.
this moment. Still creepy old dude. But fine, whatever. Amber asks if he wants to run lines, and he's like, no, I'm good. And Dirk asks where she wants it. Amber says wherever you want. Dirk's like, look, you tell me. And she's like, all right, my tits. And it's just like, okay. And I'm like, okay, like, I like that they've included this scene because I have heard, uh interviews here and there, where they're like, yeah, like, everything is my control, like, we know everything that's happening. And it's similar, like, on whenever there's intimacy in like a theater show or anything, like, the two consenting adults always talk about what is going to happen and everything that's going to happen before anything actually
Yeah,
happens,
yeah, true.
right? And so, like, it was like, okay, like, cool, like, they are still doing that even in this industry. They are talking to each other before they hit action, being like, all right, like, so we're good here, we're okay with this, like, this is okay, like, understanding that, like, these are the boundaries, this is what we're doing.
Mm.
That's really good. It's just something that, like, I think a lot of people don't always know
Yeah,
happens behind the scenes.
yeah.
So I like that they've included that.
Mm.
Yeah. So Dirk's a little nervous, and Amber's like, it's okay. And Dirk's like, no, I'm fine. I just want to do it. And he's just wondering if it's okay if he tries to make it look sexy. And Bill's, he's just like, yeah, of course. So they head out. Bill tells him, look, if you forget a line, just call for it, but don't stop. And then action, Dirk. So here we go. We're into our first official film of the film, because films inside of films. Welcome to the show. So he walks in, and the scene is Amber saying that the agency recommends him highly. John is a hard worker. By the way, John is Dirk Diggler. And John is a hard worker. And if given the job, he won't disappoint. We see the scene, like the edges are all blacked out when we watch it as we are watching it as the audience. And it's just a small screen in the middle, almost as if like we are watching this through the camera lens.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just a really interesting way for the filmmakers of Boogie Nights to depict what we see as like real life for these people, which is full screen,
Yeah.
and then what their camera life is, which is it's the zoomed in version.
Yeah. And also,
and we see it come up later as well.
And also, I suppose back in the 70s, it would have been a case of there's those like kind of adult movie theatres where people are like kind of in little like booths, and that's kind of the way you would watch it, because obviously there's no internet, so you're sort of watching it in a very sort of public forum, but intimate, but also public in a way, which is kind of interesting. So
yeah, no, it's definitely interesting there. And I just think like it's a nice trope, right? It helps us as audience members understand what we're watching at any point. Like, where are we? Because there is a film inside of a film.
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful for us as viewers that they're like, okay, like whenever you're watching something and it's this type of format and you have the black borders, it is the film inside of the film, whatever film they are now creating.
Yeah.
And then when we're back to full screen, it's you're just watching these people's lives.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's obviously like a completely different movie, but in that movie, Singing in the Rain, it's basically the introduction.
Never seen it.
So it's basically they're going from silent movies. They're going from silent movies to the talkies. So when they are in real life, it's in colour, and then the movie is in black and white. You can kind of tell which is which. It's quite clever the way they do it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I know the song "Singing in the Rain."
Yeah, from Singing in the Rain.
I've never seen the film.
Yeah, but it's a bit like how, I guess, and obviously it's kind of the fantasy versus reality thing. It's a bit like in The Wizard of Oz when her kind of bit in Kansas is in black and white, and then the Oz bit is in colour. And the reason why, the story goes, the reason why they've changed the shoes to ruby and there's silver in the book is because also they had this Technicolor, and they were like, let's show it off. And I remember my grandma saying that when she watched it at the cinema, it was like a big deal. The fact it was like people had not seen colour film before. So it's like the kind of fantasy versus reality. And it's kind of interesting in this film how there are lots of films where it's like a film about a film about the movies in a way. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So Amber asks, what are your special skills? And he's like, well, I've been in the Marines for 3 years. I just got back from duty. It was really hard being surrounded by all those guys all day. Impressive writing in this adult film. Amber asks how long it's been since he's been with a woman. And he goes, long time. That's terrible. And he's back. He wants to pursue his acting career. Amber informs him that it is an important film. And I was like, they're auditioning him for the film? Okay, sure. Like, fine, whatever. This doesn't look like an audition for the film.
Well,
you walk in and like you do sides. You don't just walk into someone's office, but okay.
Is it meant to be like
anyway?
Like the casting?
If the film,
is it meant to be like that?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Anyway, if the film is not a hit, she'll get kicked out of her apartment.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What type of crappy situation do you live in?
Well, it's just a thing of porn. It's that interesting, that funny thing of porn, isn't it? Where like a lot of the storylines, it's like someone would get arrested if they did that in real life. Like if your plumber came over to your house and got his out, you'd call the police because he's exposed himself to you. But in porn, it's okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In porn, it's fine.
Yeah.
So Anyway, she asks him to take his pants off. It's important for her to get the idea of his size. Dirk does so, and we cut to the two cameramen, and then we slowly cut to everybody, and everyone's just like, oh. And like everyone's just memorized by the size of what he's got. And then everybody just leans over and takes a peek.
I always think being, I mean, obviously you're just used to
Interesting.
it, but obviously being there in real life, I think would be a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Amber says that she's pretty sure he has the job, but wants to make sure of something. She reaches over, she grabs it, she starts touching him. They start making out. She undresses, and she undresses herself. She undresses him. They continue making out, and they have sex. We cut the camera, and we have the zoom on the camera, which transitions us into seeing the movie in the camera and like it spinning. It's a really cool transition. It's kind of hard for me to describe what's going on there, but they have to change the mags, and Jack's just like, just do it quickly, right? Bill tells the actors to pause, tells them like, look, everything's great, they just have to change angles. Amber tells Dirk that he's doing great, it feels good. They continue rolling, they just continue going at it. John is a wonderful actor, according to Amber. um, and Amber tells John to release inside of her. And Dirk is very confused in this moment because he's like, this isn't what we discussed. Like, are you sure? Like, this isn't what we discussed. This was not what we had agreed on. And she looks at him and is like, it's okay. I'm fixed. I want you inside of me. And he's like, okay. And we move to look at Jack, and he tells Bill it's wonderful. So Bill calls for cut, tells everyone that it was wonderful, it looked sexy, it was great, and Bill tells Jack that they missed the shot because Dirk inside her. Bill says that he can maybe go through some stock footage, and Jack just goes, "Are you crazy? It won't match." What? Okay. So he's just like, sure. And Dirk overhears this, and he's just like, well, Jack, if you need me to, I can just do it again if you need the close up.
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
I did actually hear tricks of the trade. Again, my like when I did my university project, I found out a lot of stuff which I was just like, I missed the person I was before I knew that. So basically, to fake it
You used to be innocent.
exactly. So literally, this is what I was. This is what this girl said. So basically, on a set, they take the stills before. It's not during. They're like kind of set up before to show the shot. Quite often, it is there's a coconut like dessert sauce that is very commonly used. Yes. So there you go. So then the actor.
So it's coconut dessert?
Yeah. So then the actor only does the real thing once, but the first shot it's usually fake stuff. So.
Oh,
So yeah, good to know.
okay.
And it's the kind of sort of
Sure.
But this is what's kind of interesting is I think that what's really interesting with Boogie Nights is it's kind of that 70s like one's quite glamorous, but there's actually stuff where it's like I think obviously you'll kind of see as the movie goes on that there is the kind of darker side. Like there's some stuff that's like it's kind of gross. Like there's certain things that kind of you sort of see behind the scenes. Well, like kind of in the movie, but also in kind of real life, you hear about behind the scenes. That's kind of gross that they kind of just skip out. So yeah,
Yeah, I kind of see a couple of those things
yeah,
right now where like I'm trying to point out like wherever I do see I'm like that's weird.
yeah,
Right now it feels more like it's just the creepy old men in the industry that are really weird.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And like the prying on like the young and the innocent of like, 17, 18 year
yeah,
old
yeah,
kids,
yeah,
and like getting them in before they're even potentially legal adults. Like that's definitely
mm,
creepy.
yeah,
But in terms of like the professionalism of the shoot, I feel like
yeah.
has been
It's
professional,
okay.
at least in the depiction that I've seen so far.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's interesting.
But yeah, like I am pretty sure that I will learn more about the
Mm.
creepiness. I feel like that's more in the second half of the
Yeah,
film,
yeah,
though.
definitely.
Because you got to set up like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah,
the life
yeah.
is all
The
glamorous
rise,
before
the
we can
fall.
have life has crashing and falling.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I think this is a perfect place to take a quick intermission, and then we will be right back. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to put this disclaimer at the beginning. If you are not over the age of 18, maybe skip these episodes. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale. I hope you are all enjoying this episode, and if you want to gain access to more bonus content, like access to my notes and access to some of the tier lists that I make, and help suggest films and things like that, all of that can be done over at our Patreon, and that can be found at patreon.com/coopforge. So that's patreon.com/CO_OPFORGE. Signing up for any of the tiers gets you different types of bonus content depending on the tier that you sign up for, and a shout out here on the show for every patron that signs up. It really means the world to us, and it helps us grow this show and helps us be able to put the money back into this show to make it a better experience for you, the listeners. That is our entire goal here at Co-op Forge. So thank you all so much if you are considering doing this. Now, if you want to help the show in a non-monetary way, that is fantastic as well. You can do so by just talking about us and sharing it with a friend. Just reach out to a friend and be like, hey, you love movies, or hey, you need an excuse to watch more movies. Check out this show called Post Finale. The host is silly, he's an actor, he's confused most of the time, gets a lot of guesses wrong, but overall it's a lovely time and some interesting discussions about some iconic films. I think you'll really enjoy it. It really does help. And be sure to talk about us on social media and follow us on social media. That really helps out a lot as well. If you're looking for the show, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Post Finale Pod. And then you can also find us at Co-op Forge on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And that's at Co-op Forge at CO_OPFORGE. And we post content not just from Post Finale, but from the other shows here on Co-op Forge as well. So that includes Flip the Scripts, and that includes Seattle Across the Pond. So be sure to follow both of those channels. Again, it's at Post Finale Pod and at Co-op Forge, CO_OPFORGE. But just thank you so much for listening to this episode. Wherever you are, if you're enjoying the episode, if you're listening on YouTube, please like, please hit subscribe. It really does help us out. If you're listening on a podcast app, that's great as well. It doesn't matter to us where you're listening. We're just so thankful that you're listening. But if you're listening on a podcast app, please leave a rating. It really does help us out. Please leave a review and hit that follow button. You can also turn on notifications both on YouTube and on the podcast apps just to be notified when new episodes come out. It really does mean a lot that you are all listening to these episodes, and thank you all so much. So let's get back to the episode without further ado. So we're now at a party, and it seems like it's the launch party for the first film. And, you know, he's starting to buy some new clothes. And by he, I mean Dirk, Dirk Diggler. I will also be using the name Dirk because that is what he has requested to be named as. So he starts to resemble Reed, and Scotty tries to resemble them. The clothes don't fit Scotty. Poor Scotty. He just wants to be part of the group. He just wants to be accepted. So, I mean, he is, but like he wants to be more part of the group. Like he feels like he's a part of the group, but like not one of the cool guys in the group. He wants to be one of the cool guys.
Also, I was going to add a thing that when it's like the launch of the movie for our UK versus US audiences, you guys say premiere, we would say premiere. You're welcome. Of a movie.
Cool.
Yeah, of a movie.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was walking through Trafalgar? No, not Trafalgar.
Leicester Square.
Leicester Square.
Yeah, that's where the premiere is.
Yeah. I don't know why I said Trafalgar. Nothing happens. I mean, a lot of things happen in Trafalgar, but not when it comes to premieres.
Yeah.
But like I was walking through one time. I think it was like in February of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they were having like the premiere of Argyle.
Oh yeah,
like that spy movie that came out. And my friend Reese and I were just walking by, and we were just like, huh.
Mm.
It's wild to think that we are a whopping like 50 meters away from John Cena right now.
Right. I think it was I saw like the June one. So I got to see Timothy Chalamet. I was on like a balcony, so he was like this big, but I was like, I think that's Timmy. I can see him. Like
I think
this
that's
big.
him.
Yeah, literally.
And it's not like he's a very tall person.
Right,
like
exactly.
He's average height.
So I was like,
he's
I
not.
saw Timothy and Zendaya, like again, tiny. But I was like, I couldn't
Yeah.
even tell it was them, but just the way they looked, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's them.
That's them.
So,
Yeah. Fair enough. So we're at this party. Everything's happening. There's a disco now. We're all at the disco. We're at Maurice's club, is where I'm guessing, because this is the only club that we have established so far.
Mm-hmm.
So Becky meets Raymond, who is a Leo. She is a Pisces, and Raymond can't deal with no Pisces. Sure, I do not know.
I'm a Pisces. That's really rude.
Well, apparently Raymond can't deal with
He can't
you.
deal with Pisces. All right.
Yeah, apparently.
Well,
he's a Leo.
Fine, whatever.
Sure, dude. Like, all I understand is that I'm a Scorpio.
Pisces are meant to be really intense. So, like, the theory is that, like, you go on a date and then you show up on the second date in a wedding dress. Like, we're that intense. Apparently, that's what I've been told. So.
Oh, okay. I've just been told that Scorpios are interesting.
Okay.
One of my friends is like, I've never met two Scorpios that are similar.
Right. Okay.
And then the other thing that I have learned is that apparently for me, it's because you have, like, what is it? You have the sun, you have the moon.
Oh yeah, the
and
rising.
You have like the rising.
Yeah.
All of mine are water signs.
Okay.
And so my friend one time, and like, she understands this whole thing. I don't really get this world. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I have the CoStar app downloaded on my phone.
Love it.
From like back when it was a big deal. Now I just occasionally read the like daily thing, and I just usually laugh at it and move on. Or like I just read it and I'm like, oh, that was surprisingly accurate.
But
so like,
but I did hear that they like deliberately make them like vague enough so that kind of anyone can relate to them, which is quite interesting. So.
Oh yeah, like one day recently, like within the past month. It was like, you're going to have a cuisine you love today. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to eat dinner, like my normal dinner, because like I usually enjoy the cuisine of what I eat.
Yeah.
And then I got home and we were out of food, and my dad was like, all right, like I'm too tired to cook. And so he was like, all right, like I just brought burritos home. And I was like, oh, I do like Mexican food.
Yeah, true.
Like,
see?
I love burritos.
There you
right?
go.
So I was like, okay. And then there are other days where it's like, you should quit. And I'm like, I've never done that.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, literally. I get ones about business ventures a lot. It's like I'm gonna suddenly wake up in the night and be like, oh my god, I've got my Shark Tank / Dragon's Den, as we call it in the UK, idea. So, yeah.
Recently, most of mine have been about my love life.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of them was just like, you should cultivate your relationship with dates and gifts. And I was like, okay. There's no relationship to cultivate.
Okay. Well, see, I didn't even get them, so I'll be rich. I'll be like sad and lonely, but I'll have a really beautiful apartment. So, it's all worth it.
Congrats!
It's all worth it. It's all worth it. So.
So, anyway, Raymond can't deal with no Pisces. And we have Roller Girl, and she's like, Eddie, your shirt is sexy too. And they're dancing. She doesn't have skates on in this moment, though.
Wow. So it's not a roller disco, it's just a regular one.
Just a regular disco. So the skates do come off.
Okay.
But rarely.
Right. Okay.
Rarely. So it is apparently Italian nylon, like very special edition, limited silk print, done by a famous Italian artist. Maurice is walking through, being the charmer that he is, walking through his club. We see Reed pulling out some magic tricks for Buck. I love that Reed's just like this quirky friend.
Yeah.
Who, like, is also like a movie star. Yeah, he's just like, yeah, I'm an adult film star, but also at the same time, I like magic tricks and
Why not?
poetry. And, like, I like different things. It's like, okay, fair enough. He succeeds, and Buck asks him if it ever makes him nervous when he's dealing with all of these evil forces, and he just goes, "Horses? It's not evil, it's an illusion." And then Buck's just like, "Yeah, it's confusing." And I was like, they nailed the conversation in a chaotic club.
Right, okay. Yeah, why not?
Because this is exactly how a conversation in a loud club goes.
Yeah.
You can't ever hear what the other person is saying.
No, exactly. You just have to guess.
Sometimes you guess right.
You just have to do like
Sometimes
weird
it's
like hand gestures.
Yeah, sometimes it's very wrong.
Yeah, or like sign. Yeah. No, I remember like when I was like at college, university, a big one we'd always do is like when it's time to go home, it used to be like
Oh, this?
yeah.
For anyone that is just listening to the audio of this, we're just sticking our hands together and making like
Yeah.
a pyramid shape.
Yeah. or there was like a Burger King, so you do like a burger and then a crown, so someone across could see and be like, "Oh, yeah, good idea." So, but like the
See,
drunk
when I
food
was
after.
in college, we didn't really go clubbing. Like, we would just go to house parties.
Yeah.
So, like, we just went to house parties, and then it would just be like, all right, house parties or go to the bar. And so
Yeah.
we could always just hear each other.
Yeah, fair enough.
And, like, occasionally at the house parties, like, you couldn't hear each other, right?
Right, okay.
And then, like, it would just be like, all right, mime, walk this way.
Yeah.
Or you would just, like, get next to the person's ear and be like, this is what I mean.
Yeah,
And they're
exactly.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, yeah. But, yeah. So, we're at another shoot. Jack wants to try to do it all in one shot. And, you know, he's like, all right, start like this, Dirk on top, and then roll her over. And he's like, try to give me every single position. Is that possible? And they start marking it through, which again, like something that you do a lot. You do it a lot in theater and film, and like what we do. Not this type of film, other films. So, but like you do it with one intimacy. You also do it with fight scenes.
Yes.
Like you mark through.
Yeah.
Like that's where we mark through a lot more. And you know, this is intimacy. So it makes sense that they're marking through, and it's not necessarily like they're doing it at this point, but they're just marking through, making sure that they understand the positions, how they're going to get in the position so that someone's not accidentally kicking someone in the face. Like, you know, things like that need to happen. We learned that the waterbed, not a problem. Have you ever slept on a waterbed?
No, but I have slept on a Temper mattress, which wasn't great because if you roll over, it doesn't move quickly enough in time. So.
Okay. I've never slept on a waterbed either. So
no, I think they're quite old-fashioned, and quite often they would like pop. So I don't know whether they're very safe.
Yeah, I don't really know what the intrigue of a waterbed was.
They're just a kind of new thing, I guess.
Sure. I mean, I heard about them growing up, and now I just no longer hear about them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They get ready for the shoot. Dirk asks Jack if he wants a Spanish accent. Okay. We cut to people running to the Pussycat Theater, and they're there to watch Spanish Pantalones, directed by Jack Horner, with Amber Waves, Roller Girl, and Dirk Diggler.
Okay.
Now, Jack is reading a magazine. They're all at his house. I'm assuming it's his house. He seems to be getting a haircut or something at the same time. But Jack is reading a magazine, and it just says, Jack Horner has found something special in newcomer Dirk Diggler. It's another stellar standout for Horner and company. Diggler delivers a performance worth 1,000 hard-ons. His presence when dressed is powerful and demeaning. When stripped to the bone, Diggler's more eruptive than a volcano on a bad day.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I will say, film-wise, very cool transition here into the magazine, and then we start following some of the text. And then it slides over to Dirk at a barbershop, like getting his hair done. So like it's like a little montage of like as they're reading this, like time is passing, things are happening, right?
But it's kind of interesting as well, the fact that it's called like a porn star. Like the fact you're like kind of a movie star, but you're a
You are
star.
a star.
But in so you're like a big
Yeah.
name, but in which is kind of interesting, I suppose.
In
And I suppose it's
I mean, like that's what they're called now too.
yeah. And I suppose as well, if you kind of, I suppose the modern day equivalent would be like the kind of top 1% on like OnlyFans or whatever. So it's kind of these people, how you kind of get that following. And it's obviously interesting back in, again, back in those days, how they kind of did it without the internet. Whereas obviously now it's kind of like, posting on X or on OnlyFans or Instagram or whatever it is. It's kind of interesting that people do become very famous from it.
Yeah. I am questioned by it every single day. Not questioned, baffled.
Well,
but sure. Yeah, but it's a very cool shot. And then the magazine continues. Amber waves ripe cherry lips do a wonderful job handling Diggler's wide load. Meanwhile, we also see Becky, who seems to be looking longingly at Dirk, and then at least like that's how the frames have been set up. And then it says, and Reed Rothschild's stiff biceps do a slapping good job with Becky Barnett's supple. Oh, no. It was just the way that the like little panels lined up, and it was like, oh no, it's just a scene between Reed and Becky.
Oh.
But it lined up that way to where it looked like Becky was just looking longingly at Dirk. So I was like, oh, okay. But then this magazine article finishes off. But it's Diggler that is the standout in this film. Easy to predict that Diggler's success can only grow and grow and grow. Okay.
It's just crazy, like, to think that, like, has, like, a script. And, like, there's someone who has to write those, like, god-awful lines that they say to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. And also, I mean, I do quite like some of the names are quite funny. Like, I saw this one that was like saying there was one. It was called Womb Raider. It's that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
yeah.
There's okay. So this is kind of bad. So basically, there's a movie called Lawrence of Arabia where he's like crossing the desert. It's like kind of, I don't know, it's this guy called Peter O'Toole, really old film from like the 30s or 40s. Anywho, so basically there's a version called Lawrence of Arabia. There you go. I was in an old people's home doing a project at university and we were talking about old films. And I nearly said Lawrence of Arabia, but I didn't. I said the original.
Oh.
Because I thought the old
See, I thought that story was going to take a turn.
No.
You were going to show them the film and you accidentally put on the wrong film.
I did, in fact, say the correct name, but it's very close. That it was close. I could have said the wrong one, and the old people probably would have died. So it's good that I didn't.
I mean, you might have accidentally been responsible for
maybe
the death of more of them if you actually played it.
There's Edward Penis Hands as well, so there's quite a few. Yeah, and there's one, and these won't make these. Yeah, but just some of the names of it, I'm just like someone comes up with the titles, like the marketing and stuff. I'm like, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah,
kind of interesting.
Well, we're back on our dance floor. Dirk Diggler has a new fresh cut, and it's very 70s disco vibe. Reed joins in. They all start dancing. Roller Girl, Maurice, Becky, Buck, everyone's on the dance floor. And now we're in a van. And Jack asks, okay, like what else? And that's it for now. They look at the character Holmes came up with. I guess Holmes is another person in this industry. And Dirk doesn't like seeing women treated that way. This guy apparently plays Johnny Wad, and he's always slapping some girl around, and it's not right. It's not cool. It's not sexy like it should be. And Reed chimes in saying that this guy that they are coming up with is more like a James Bond type character, classy, world traveler, and Reed could be Dirk's partner. And I mean, like, fair play to Reed here, just being like, look, I understand that, like, Dirk is the one that can carry this, and, like, he should be the lead. Even though I have been in the industry longer, it's like, no. Like, fair play to Reed being like, hey, I'm good with being the sidekick character here.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Right? Just, maturity on a different level.
Okay.
So Dirk pitches that they can make it really good, a whole series with the whole story, and it's what they've always talked about. And Jack says that when they get back, set up the typewriter, and we'll see what comes out of it. Of course, Jack will need to talk to the Colonel when they get back, and Dirk will have to work on the Colonel as well, do what he has to do, and, Dirk's just like, yeah, of course, like, I'll do that. Like, not a problem. I will happily do that. Jack asks if they have a name for the character, and the name is going to be Brock Landers, and the partner is Chest Rockwell. Yay! Jack loves it. I am confused, but, sure. Who am I to judge?
Well, there you go.
So we end up, apparently, where we have been going is the second annual Adult Film Awards. Apparently this is a thing. I'm not surprised that it's a thing. There are film awards for everything nowadays.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
AVN, they're called.
AVN?
AVN, Adult Video something. I don't know what the N stands for. There's also
what does the N stand for? What's KVN?
GayVN is...
GayVN.
GayVN is... They have a gay one as well. So it's inclusive.
Okay.
But also as well, it's like... I just love as well that it's like, you get an Oscar for, Best Supporting Actor, but then it's like, I don't know, Best DP Scene, and you can put it on the mantle. I'm like, that's quite sweet.
Yeah. But yeah,
it's a real
that's
thing.
what you want to show off.
But also as well,
and, hey, for those people, maybe that is what they show off.
Yeah, but also, like, how, like, at the Oscars or whatever, they show bits of the film. Do they do that at the ones as well, or I don't know?
I don't know.
I'll need to get invited.
I've never been invited to go attend.
I should make friends with somebody.
If for some weird, wild reason I get invited to an event like this, I'm bringing you.
Okay. Because I guess if you're like a content creator, I'm actually going to Google it. What's the N stand for?
What does the N stand for? I am very curious.
Awards. Oh my god. Adult Video News Awards.
So it's the AVNA.
Yeah. Often known as the Oscars of There you go.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
Where does the news come in? Because there's not a whole lot of news.
Well, there was a magazine that was called AVN, Adult Video News, and then AVN have done awards. So,
okay. Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, sure. So we're at the Adult Film Awards, right? And we have Best Newcomer, Dirk Diggler. Best Cock, Dirk Diggler. Best Actor, Dirk Diggler. And Dirk's very excited about all of this. He gives all of his friends a hug, gives a speech, and this is his speech. He's just like, look, I don't know what to say. The only thing I can say is that I promise to keep rocking and rolling, making better films. It seems that we make these movies, and sometimes they're considered filthy or something by some people. But I don't think that's true. These movies can be better. They can help. They really can. And I mean that. They always can do better. He's going to keep trying as long as others keep trying. So let's keep rocking and rolling, man. Fantastic. Beautiful. Lovely.
What I want to know is, do you think Best Actor, does it mean that you're good at the sex, or you were really convincing during the storyline? You gave the light and shade of performance in the storyline. So I wonder what...
I feel like it needs to be for the storyline.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because otherwise they would just have a different award.
Yeah, that's true. because I saw this thing about basically it was this girl like it's called Sex Actually with Alice Levine. She's like a journalist. Anyway, so she was interviewing this guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the learning the lines is the hardest bit." And I was like,
Yeah, you mentioned that last episode.
"That's the most difficult bit, is it?" Okay,
Not
cool.
not the intimacy with 20 people in the
Yeah,
room.
exactly.
No.
Not having sex for hours, but okay, fair enough. Memorizing lines, it's hard work.
Memorizing lines.
So there you go.
Okay. So it's now 1978. We're shooting another scene where Dirk is in a restaurant or a bar of sorts. There's a woman who just got a seat there after 20 minutes and asks for a shot of tequila straight up. She's alone. She's just visiting LA, and someone told her that the food here was really good. So, of course, the logic makes sense that instead of ordering food, you order a single shot of tequila.
Well, there you go. Hollywood.
Dirk says that it's not good. It's the best place to eat in all of LA. It's excellent. And she's like, well, I could certainly hope so. I could die of starvation before I get something in my mouth. And I was just like, oh, is this one of those Brock Landers films?
Uh,
Um, I was like, is that what we're doing? We're now in a bedroom, by the way. Dirk asks if she's still hungry. She is starving. And he's like, why don't you feast on that? Ladies and gentlemen, use your imagination. And he is Brock Landers. And I was like, oh, look, it's a Brock Landers film.
there you go.
Yeah.
Interesting transition.
So, interesting transition. Cool. We then get opening credits of the film, and it's fun. They are legitimately like fun opening credits. They're like James Bond. They're chasing people down, like running on the roof, getting money back, hitting them, knocking them out, beating them up. It's a good time. Brocklanders, Angels Live in My Town is the name of the film, right? And Jack's like, all right, we're almost there. Trim the head, dump the shot of Reed with the revolver, and switch the title card. Wants it to come flying right out at them, right at the screen, right at the audience, right? So cool. Um, we end up at a party. Reed is given champagne to Scotty J. It is supposedly some of the really good stuff, the lightest that he had. And hey, cool, it's another magic trick where he can let go of the glass and it floats. Like, honestly, impressive magic trick.
Cool.
Yeah. Again, I love that they just like let Reed have this fun, quirky side where it's like, oh yeah, like I also just love magic tricks.
Why not?
So
Why not?
he just is,
Multifaceted.
yeah, he's just doing magic tricks for fun on the side.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. I'm very okay with it. So the couch is imported leather. This is Dirk's new place, by the way. For anyone that is curious.
Mhm.
So the couch imported Italian leather. On the curtains we see a DD for his initials. Jesse did the oil paintings. Have I missed something? Do I know who Jesse is? Am I supposed to know who Jesse is, or is she just someone who does oil paintings?
Maybe it's just a random artist person. But I think it's that kind
Cool.
of his apartment's definitely like the kind of vibe of like that 70s, like the time that taste forgot, you know? So like I went to I actually went to Graceland and obviously Elvis's house and just some of the stuff it's
I've
like
never been there.
it's worth it. It's worth it. But they have like gold and like the shag carpets and like the curtains and it's very 70s like tacky. Like tacky doesn't even cover it. It's like so it's that kind of glamour 70s glamour that could be the fine line between glamour and like tacky. It's yeah. There's a very fine line.
Oh. I was listening to the radio on my way to work, and I learned a fun fact, which I mean most people probably knew, but apparently Michael Jackson married Elvis's daughter.
Yes, yes, Lisa Marie.
Yeah,
He also had
I have no idea like if they ever like I don't know like how long they were married, if it was the rest of their lives. Like I don't know. I just know that they got married.
yeah, and he had Elvis had an airplane called the Lisa Marie after his daughter.
I do know that because I watched the film.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. Well, it's in like the
Yeah,
parking
yeah.
lot of Graceland, so you can like go inside the plane. It's quite cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really cool. Definitely worth a visit
Okay.
in. Oh my god, where is it? Memphis.
Sure. Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, it's slightly surprising that I've never been there because I lived in Kentucky for 13 years.
Mm. I couldn't remember
But like
I couldn't remember whether it was in Memphis or Nashville, but it's Memphis. That's where it's
Memphis,
yeah.
it's not in Nashville. I've been to Nashville lots of times.
Right,
I've
okay.
only been to Memphis like twice.
Yeah. It was cool. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, if anyone was curious, Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley were married for 2 years from 1994 to 1996.
Oh, there you go, see. Hollywood.
And then she also married Nicolas Cage from 2002 to 2004.
Wow. She had a type of a talented but weird guy.
So, Jesse's done the oil paintings. Buck is installing a stereo machine. There's a beanbag. There's a lamp. They have a secret room that's his dojo. And Amber's like, oh, it's like ancient China in here. It's the Asian feel. And he has a mirror above the bed. Because, sure. His wardrobe is organized. And I will say, like, his wardrobe did look quite nice. It was quite well organized. But his favorite part is his new car. It's like this really nice red car. I can't tell you what model it was or anything. But they get in it, they go for a ride, and now we're watching another film. Cause sure. And then Brock and Chest are mad at Chico, who is played by Maurice. Brock says that he isn't worth it, gives him a chance, and punches him. And they almost solve the case. At least the women are safe. And I just realized that kind of rhymes.
Oh, they
So,
go.
yeah. Jack says that it's their best work. It's the best thing that they've ever done. It's a real film, and this is the film that he wants to be remembered by. And we're at the 4th annual film awards. Dirk Diggler wins again, and he just goes, thanks. Fantastic.
Interesting. Maybe the sparkle's
And
starting to wear off a little bit.
maybe. I don't know. I'm intrigued.
Mm.
Right? We're now at a party and we're saying goodbye to the 70s, hello to the 80s. And someone's talking to Becky and he's just like, it's all about love. People will come, they will go, as long as you have love deep within your soul. What is the problem? That will take your attention away from that. And Becky meets Jerome. Jerome works in the audio industry. He's the regional manager over at a Pep Boys. Cool. Jerome just has a normal job. Welcome, Jerome. Maybe you'll stick around for a bit. I have no idea. So, in walks a man, and we learn that his name is Floyd Gondoli. It seems like he will be a big deal soon in this movie, in what little I have seen so far of him. So he introduces the boys, Tommy and Pete, and the girls, Cindy and Angie. And he introduces them all to the Colonel, and he goes, the next stars. And the Colonel's like, well, maybe we should talk to Jack first, right? And Amber asks Dirk to join her for a little surprise. Dirk leaves Jesse, and Jesse looks upset by this. Maybe she is like kind of his girlfriend, but not his girlfriend. I don't really know if that's a thing that happens in this industry. Don't know. There's no establishment of who they are, but like Jesse does seem upset that Dirk is leaving.
Mm.
Buck is no longer wearing cowboy gear, but he now looks really sad and is all alone. And he's kind of wearing like this really big gold collar with like frills going down from the collar. I don't know how to describe this look. Do you have any idea?
Like pimp.
Sure.
Yeah. And he's Don
Why
Cheadle,
not?
right? That's Don Cheadle.
Yeah, that's Don Cheadle.
Yeah. So like kind of pimp vibe, I feel like.
Okay. Fantastic. But he's really sad, and then a guy comes into the party. His name is Todd Parker, and he seems like this cool guy. And I think he's a dancer based on like a line where he said like I don't dance on Sundays, so like maybe he's a dancer. Not completely sure who he is, but Reed seems to know him. So Buck is just like, look, I'm happy with the look. It's a great look, and then he takes off the wig, which is like his braids and like his long hair, and he takes it off, and I was like, oh, okay. he and Jesse start talking about sunsets. Oh, they were, and then they get back onto it. But they agree that sunrises are better. And Buck tells her his dream. His dream is to open a stereo business, hi-fi stereo systems at discount prices. Buck's super stereo world. And Jesse says, "This is a great idea." And Buck's like, "The '80s. That's when it'll happen for real."
There you go.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good on Buck. He wants to have a side thing as well. Like, he's like, "Look, I understand that I might not be an adult film star forever. I want to have a business of my own."
Yeah. Good to have a backup plan.
Good to have a backup plan. So, Amber wanted a minute to tell Dirk how much she loved him, and they're going to start things and do things. Just wanted him to know that she loves him, cares for him. He's the best thing in the world that's happened to her since her son went off. And they welcome the 1980s, and she's like, "All right, let's do a line." She doesn't say this, she just doesn't, right? And she kind of seems like she convinces Dirk to do it in this moment, like a little bit of peer pressure, right? It didn't feel like he had maybe done this before.
Mm.
At least that's the vibe that I got, because he just goes, "Oh, it's going in my throat," like, and she's like, "Oh, that's the drip, that's the best part." And he's like, "Look, I just want some water. Like, I'm good. I just want some water." And she's like, "One more, and then a drink of water," right? And so he does one more, and he asks, "Do I look cool when I do it?" And then Amber starts kissing him.
Oh.
Okay, interesting. Didn't see that coming. I know that, like, obviously they've slept together when they've done all these scenes together, but like, this isn't them doing a scene together,
Yeah. Right. I guess you kind of
right?
have to.
So does
You're
that?
intimate.
But it's intimate in a different way.
Yeah. But I
Is this the
suppose.
intimacy that Dirk wants?
Yeah. But then again, I suppose a bit it happens in like regular movies, doesn't it? Where actors kind of they're like pretending to be in love with each other, and then it kind of happens. Like Mr. and Mrs.
Oh
Smith.
yeah, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm just saying, like, did he expect it?
Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe not. There's that kind of
Maybe
separation. I
not.
guess they kind of have to do that separation of like sex and love, isn't it? But
Yeah.
also, on a side
Um.
note, there's a really interesting video called Movies Insider that says about how drugs are like done in films, because there's the thing with like coke where people pretend to sniff coke in a film. In I think it was The Wolf of Wall Street. Um, Jonah Hill actually got quite sick because he was snorting fake coke all the time, and it actually made him quite unwell. So
Oh God.
they use apparently vitamin D powder or baby formula. So it's like not harmful for your body, but still like sniffing it is probably not very good for you. So there's
Yeah.
a quite interesting video about how like drugs are done in films. So it's quite an interesting thing.
Interesting.
Interesting YouTube channel called Movies Insider, and it's like kind of the all sorts of
Movies
stuff about movies.
Insider.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
We'll
and
check it out.
but sometimes as well, people they have like a thing in. There's something that's like a thing. It's like a tube. They put like some tubes. Someone can be like, "Whoa!" and then it looks like they've done it, but actually it's just like a little vacuum that's like. So it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's just another thing how they do drugs in movies.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is pretty much the last thing that we're talking about, because the only other thing that I've seen is that, like, the scene changes
Mm-hmm.
and we see Floyd Gondoli saying, "Let's talk about the future." And then I hit pause because I was like, that seems ominous. I don't want to watch anymore.
Yeah,
This seems like a good stopping point.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think also.
So, I mean, like, my.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, I think also as well, there's kind of the introduction of videotape. So maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's the future.
Maybe that's the future. I don't know what the future is, right? I know that the future is that next week, listeners, you will get another episode of Post Finale, and we'll find out, I guess, what the future is. But my prediction of what the future is that he wants to introduce new talent, and that will slowly push out Dirk Diggler and friends, and then that'll cause problems between them and Jack, and they'll fall more into the world of drugs and alcohol and everything, and they'll just fall deeper into that world, and it won't be a happy ending for our friends.
Well, Maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know, because the reason that I'm thinking that's going to happen is because we've been introduced to the new talent per se by Floyd.
It doesn't seem like the sort of movie
and
where they're
so-
going to live happily ever after, you know?
It feels like we've gotten to the happiest point of the film.
Yeah.
The
rise before the fall.
Yeah. We've gotten about an hour 15 into this film. We're happy.
Yeah.
We're still happy. We ain't gonna be happy soon.
Yeah, true.
I don't know why we're not gonna be happy. I want to say that like it's gonna be that they're just gonna be slowly pushed out, and they're not gonna then be able to find jobs. I think at some point potentially Dirk's mom comes back into the picture. I do think like she comes back into the picture and she finds out what her son is doing, and she's like mortified by it.
Yeah.
And so she might show up in the picture, or the dad might show up, but I feel like the mom's a stronger character.
Yeah.
But I think like it would be very interesting if the dad came, because the dad did seem to always love his son, whereas the mom didn't seem to love her son. So, yeah. I'm not really sure. I'm intrigued. Jack, thank you so much for joining.
Pleasure.
Once again, if people want to find you on the internet, keep up to date with what you got going on. I know you're probably going to have some shows later in this year.
Yeah. Jack Feb 27, JACKFEB 27. February 27th, a Pisces. So there you go.
Woo! I will link the Instagram down in the description below. But Jack, thank you so much for joining. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to tune in next week when we continue and find out about the future. We will have a new guest as well. But once we will learn about the future in Boogie Nights. But until then, I'll catch y'all later. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale. Post Finale is created, hosted, and produced by me, Ankit Madhira. Our editor is Parnov Nair. The music is by Ankit Madhira and Megan Hutcherson, and the art is by Jarid Rother. If you are all enjoying this episode and want to gain access to more bonus content, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/coopforge and signing up for any of the tiers. You get loads of different bonus content, such as notes and commentary that we have as we're watching the films, as well as some bonus audio, some bonus videos, and ad-free episodes, early access if we get them done early, and different things like that. All of that can be found at patreon.com/coopforge, and that's patreon.com/co_opforge. If you want to help out the show in a non-monetary way, that's great as well. Tell a friend about the show. Just reach out and be like, hey, you love films, or hey, you need an excuse to watch some more films. Check out the show called Post Finale. The host is an actor, and he's funny and silly, confused most of the time, but they have interesting discussions about some popular films that I think you would really enjoy. It really does help us out a lot. Be sure to talk about us on social media at Post Finale Pod on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also follow us at Co-op that's CO_OPFORGE on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And there we post content not just from Post Finale, but also from the other shows hosted here on Co-op Forge, which are Flip the Scripts and Seattle Across the Pond. So a lot of fun things can be found over there on our social media. It really, really does help us out a lot. Thank you to everyone who has already done this. Thank you to everyone who will do this in the future. It really does mean a lot to us, and it helps us create better content for you, the listeners, as we grow. It really does help, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale, and I can't wait until next week. And until then, I'll catch y'all later.